It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. That was like 6 keys in that little bit. Whoa, boy. I'm tired. I've been working hard this week. Workshop is tomorrow on Wednesday's video. I said it was Friday. Thanks to the person that told me that, so I could put the correction in the text box. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good time. I think it's a good balance of just the mind can absorb what the seat can endure and really solid science so you understand why your brain does the thing it does. And the stalker is hating it. She's subtweeting so hard on her account. And I mean, it's because the content I'm doing and dealing with this personally. I'm going to start with some empathy for some of the comments on Monday. I'll do the help support this channel, but this is one of these ones you saw me hesitate because there's certain videos where I'm like, no, I'm going to push back, and others where I really believe people have to be able to express some bitterness and a sense of unfairness and have that be heard and validated. And that's the best point forward, because I think a huge part of the problem is the sheer amount of shame and the feelings that no one cares about certain types of people, right? So that's setting the table. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. Don't forget about the workshop this Saturday. You can donate a ticket. Just go use the 2-for-1 option and put donation in the point where you fill in the name on you get a little form when you buy the ticket. There's a few people I have done a wait list that I've been talking to people. It's like, you sound like you could use this. So, but yeah, there were some comments on the Manly Monday video this week that went deep. They shared some really personal information. One, I assume it's a guy, who was the abused party, got arrested, spent 3 days in jail, and he correctly identified it as, lying to the police or the way women abusers use coercive control. Coercive control can be financial, it can be emotional. It's a very real thing that, at least here in Canada, they're only starting to recognize that law enforcement, I think they're starting with judges. They just passed something where judges are going to get more education in coercive control. But all down the line, people need more training in it. Learning to spot certain things. I remember when the original Johnny Depp was a domestic abuser story broke, and I read Amber Heard's account, and I caught a red flag in it right then and there, and I made a video. I got fucking hammered, called a ton of names for it, but I wanted to stick a pin in it because I saw the way it was going to go. And I wanted people to see that I was willing to do the hard, unpopular thing that I actually believed in, because I think that matters in the long run. Because what she said was the whole thing about, well, he said, I knew he was going to attack my sister. I knew he was going to do this. And what that means, if you actually decode it, is he hadn't done anything yet. She was mind reading and predicting the future, and she lashed out first. She hit him first, because that was her justification for hitting him. Oh, I knew he was going to hit my sister, so I hit him. Not, he was coming towards my sister. He had, it wasn't a description. It was, I just knew. That's a red flag in a story. And if you have enough experience going through these things, you start to see things like that. But you really have to look at them and not respond emotionally. And this is why I am very sympathetic with for police in these circumstances. I've been talking to different police officers on and off with the whole stalker thing. Mostly so that I know I'm not doing anything wrong before I do something. Um, which has been a real pain in the ass, but I'm covering my ass, so a little bit of pain is all right. I have noticed a big change from the experiences I had back in 2011, 2012. People are much more aware of the nuances, and they are much more aware that it is not fair to expect somebody who is being either manipulated or, subjected to verbal abuse, defamation, all that stuff. They recognize that suing someone with no money doesn't do any good. They recognize that people can't just sit there and take it. So they're much more sympathetic. And last time it was just ignore, say nothing. Now cops kind of know that our criminal harassment laws are shitty. And so they say flat out, look, tell your story. People will eventually see the truth and believe you. If she makes a threat, if she shows up and tries to do anything, call the police right away. That was very different from what I was told before. Night and day difference. And to me, that's reassuring. Because my own situation, like some of the commenters that had horrible experience, the cops just got it wrong. They believed the wrong person, and that does happen. And it's interesting because Toronto cops, will shit on the suburban police departments, and federal police officers don't have the highest regard for certain local police forces. It's like this, pigeons shitting on other pigeons all the way down. But cops have a tough job. And so they do have a very cynical view of the world because they professionally see people on their absolute worst day, right? And so I'm really sympathetic to that. I do think that we need to make the police do less. And I really do think that there are ways of healing these things and allowing people to feel heard and believed without a big high profile trial, right? Because juries get it wrong, cops get it wrong, judges get it wrong. And this is where it's a whole listen and believe thing is shit all over. But this is where I first encountered listen and believe as like a crisis volunteer and a peer counselor, that if somebody tells you something, it's not your job to challenge them. You just listen to them, you believe them, you offer comfort. Right? You don't have to validate the facts if the feelings feel real. It's not your place to openly challenge someone's story. Now, you also don't go to the person they were talking about if you know them and go, why'd you do this? Right? You're there, you listen, you connect, you give people an opportunity to talk. And I do think that because that whole paradigm is now enveloped in this like wrap of victimization, a lot of men feel cut off from that. And so they don't get that friendly ear. And the one, it's, understandably bitter, saying, why do some women make false accusations? Because zero accountability for their actions when they do. And I mean, watching the stalker flail the last few weeks, it she knows she's lying. It's obvious she knows she's lying, the way she dances around certain details. And that in itself is a form of, it's not accountability, no, but it is a form of justice that I know that she has to live with the knowledge that she's lying. And no matter how much she screams and how much she tries to cover it up, she knows she's lying. And she has to live with that. And that doesn't help me at all. That doesn't help me get those years of my life back. But it is something. It is something that people have to live with the lies they tell. And if someone is an absolute sociopath, they don't care. Most people, even terrible people, get eaten alive if they tell too many lies and don't make that right somehow. So if it helps any, know that no accountability from the system is not necessarily a good thing. I mean, you look at a guy like Robert Downey Jr. talk, he talks about the fact he needed to hit rock bottom. He needed consequences. Consequences help people pull out of the spiral. And there's a part of the stalker that it's like she's trying to get caught. A part of her knows it's wrong, knows she can't stop. She's trying to get caught. It's like watching a guilty conscience unfold. And I don't know how much of that is conscious or unconscious or whatever, but it's something. And I've run it by a few people who've been watching what she's been doing. Because of course she blocks me on accounts and then trashes me, and it's like, other people can see you, girl. But is it just me? And they're like, no, that's what it looks like to me too. There's still a human being in there crying out for help, wanting consequences. So I don't know if that helps. I do think that we do need some. And somebody asked for a video on how guys can leave an abusive woman. I'm going to think about that one. I may bring in a subject matter expert for that one if I don't feel, because that's for anyone leaving a truly abusive relationship, that when you leave is the most dangerous, not just physically, but reputationally. They may use the courts against you. They'll use any children against you. They will use every weapon to, you can't leave. I'm not going to let you. Right? So I'm going to do that eventually. I might do it Monday. It might take a bit of time because I don't want to fuck that one up. Some things about, why men are attracted to Harley Quinn types. Maybe it's just my personal experience, that idea of, oh, my car will get keyed, the house will get set on fire, but the sex will be wild, right? And is it really good sex, or is it just really performative sex? Because I mean, maybe this is giving too much of me away, but those girls are so insecure that there always seems to be a subroutine. And so it's not good. It's definitely not great. It's not good. I'll leave that there. Just commiserating there, right? And I'll leave on this comment because I got to run off to another thing. It's a busy week, but I think mental disorder being low makes sense. Mentally ill people still take actions intending to produce outcomes. So that intent will be the motive, not the disorder itself. For the disorder to be the motive on its own, it would have to be something extreme like hallucinating the whole thing and not realizing. Well said. And this is a big part of mental health stigma and why people with mental illnesses tend to be the victims of crimes and coercive control more than the perpetrators of them. And part of it is because when they are victims of crimes, people don't believe them. And we have to do something about men and women being afraid of each other, because another commenter said the sexes are more alienated than ever. A lot of misunderstanding both sides reveals the misconceptions and hard truths, right? I do think there has to be a place where people not only can say what's on their minds, but also feel secure enough that they're not going to be kicked out to be willing to listen to the other side. And it's not the talking that's lacking. It's the listening. And yes, when you're traumatized, it's really hard to listen. That's why I said I'm not going to argue these perspectives here. I don't feel like it's my role here. I'm just going to take everything everybody says. They're telling the truth, benefit of doubt, doesn't matter for the purposes of this. But the listening, and it's a who's going to go first problem, right? Because one, you can't listen if your brain is screaming at you. But also, I totally understand why everybody's in a place of you first. I mean, even I do a lot of listening for a living. And even sometimes I get fatigued, and I would love to be able to say something and have someone hear it accurately instead of some of the stuff that comes back at me in comments. I mean, there was one comment, I'm trying to find it now. I didn't think this would be relevant, but it was sort of, oh, so Leanna's insisting, and it was a total straw man, right? A complete straw man. And I couldn't help it. I openly Kratos'd. I just went, no. And I couldn't help it. I'm like, no, this is so wrong. This is so off about what I was saying that how'd you even get that? And I wasn't interested in how they got it because they were wrong. Just no. It was, so Leanna hates Katie Sackhoff because she lied to coworkers about being a Cylon in order to keep a plot twist a secret. Okay. I just wrote no, because that's not what I said. She said acting was about lying. And that's why I have an issue with her philosophy on acting. But the guy just twisted it around. I know this guy's a guy. And it's just like, no, that's not what I said. And you get exhausted. So I understand how important it is to be heard. There just isn't, we got to find the format, because I'd love to do just things where regular people talk. I was really happy with the way the Bubblehead chats went on It's Not Therapy. And obviously these are people who have had some, some training, for lack of a better term, in various ways. I'm interested in the opinions of regular people. I think it's important for people to hear certain perspectives. And it's just a question of finding a format, because debates online just end up with people talking past each other. It becomes competitive instead of collaborative. And I really, on Akila's channel, she's doing stuff, Two Vets and a Civilian, where I go on and talk to her and a colleague of hers. And we've been talking about the anti-trans rhetoric. And Jerry the co-host there, he plays devil's advocate so well, and it creates really good discussion. And I wish we could do that in some sort of moderated forum with just regular people, so someone can be challenged on something without being condemned. What do you think about that? I'm interested in your thoughts. And again, workshop this Saturday. It's only $10. Trust me, it'll be worth it. I'm putting a ton of fun, like jokes in it, because you shouldn't attend so many of these workshops about how to have better self-esteem. You end up feeling beat up by the end of it because it's like, oh, here's all the things you're doing wrong. That's not the approach I'm taking. This is the science. This is why you're doing this. This is why your brain is trying to do this to you. So it's understanding, not do this better, do this better, do this better. So I hope to see you there. There are enough people now that we are going to have to split into smaller groups. So yay. I'm not wasting the facilitator's time. But please join us. It's going to be really good. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Ko-fi.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching. And if you don't join us on Saturday, have a great weekend.